Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. Be on the watch. There are ways out. There's a light somewhere. It may not be much light, but it beats the darkness. Be on the watch. The gods will offer you chances. Know them. Take them. You cannot beat death, but you can beat death in life sometimes. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. Your life is your life. Your life is your life. You are marvelous. The gods wait to delight in you. Last week I spoke to you about the social upheavals in the Mideast, specifically the Arab Spring, referring to Tunisia and Egypt. Today I will be talking about an influential player in the Libyan revolution upheaval of 2011. His name was Abdul Fatah Younis. An attractive and charismatic guy. I mean, look at that hair, it's amazing. Reminds me a little bit of Rick Perry, Texas governor, perfectly coiffed in gray. General Abdul Fatah Younis was reported dead at 67 years old, July 24, 2011. There's a lot of confusion and mystery surrounding his death, at least there was, which happened during the Fourth Battle of Brega. Some people say that he was just a casualty of war, while others believe he was assassinated. And I'm one who believes that he was assassinated. And I will try and prove that to you today. First, I'll talk about a little bit about his background. Abdel Fattah Younis was Gaddafi's former number 2. He was born in the Jebel Abdar region of eastern Libya in 1944. There he was raised by his parents and family until he reached his early 20s. He then moved to Benghazi, which is the second largest city in Libya behind Tripoli, and attended the Royal Libyan Military Academy in Benghazi, where he met an ambitious Muammar Gaddafi. Around 1969, he participated in the revolution against Libya's King Idris while he was out of town in Turkey. Frustrated by Israel's victorious defeat of the Arab armies on several fronts, in 1967, Gaddafi and fellow members of his graduating class, which include Abdel, began to plot an overthrow of the Libyan monarchy. In fact, Gaddafi actually started planning this when he became a student at the military academy in 1961. However, the opportunity did not present itself until 8 years later. So, with Gaddafi and Abdel, they staged a coup against King Idris of Libya while he was in Turkey. The result of this coup was they abolished the monarchy and proclaimed the Libyan Arab Republic, which was actually just fell this year. What was amazing about this war, I guess, or admirable, is that they were all in their 20s. The result of this also, put Gaddafi in power for about 40 years, a little over 40 years, and Younis was his number 2 man. Also, he served for more than 4 decades as the head of security forces, which ended with the beginning of the Arab Spring in February. Younis was previously Minister for Public Security. But I'm going to talk about a little softer side. You know, Gaddafi was head of an authoritarian regime. But his number 2 man was, well, like I said, a little bit softer. In 1992, about 25 years into his rule, he attended a meeting with the British ambassador to Egypt, where he apologized for Libya's involvement in the killing of Yvonne Fletcher. A little background about Yvonne Fletcher. She was a British police officer who was fatally shot during a protest in front of the Libyan embassy. And as a result of this, in 1986, the U.S., under the bidding of the former Prime Minister of England, Margaret Thatcher, bombed Libya. So in 1992, when he was meeting with this British ambassador, he formally apologized, which improved UK and Libyan relations. That's something I don't think Gaddafi, well, I know Gaddafi never apologized for any of his actions, because most dictators don't. All right. So beginning with the Arab Spring this year, well, January in Tunisia, but February in Libya, we saw Gaddafi's number 2 man, Younis, have a change of heart. And this is like the least likely of guys to join the rebels, because here he is, the Dwayne Wade to Gaddafi's LeBron James, right? He enjoyed almost as much power as he did, yet he saw a chance to change things, and he took it. One quote he said is, he wanted to join the people and respond to their legitimate demands, because that's what the function of a politician or governor should be. Government is for the people. He also said he wanted a genuine democracy in which we Libyans can lead a 5-star life. So February 22nd, instead of crushing the uprising that began in Benghazi, like Gaddafi told him to, he announced he was joining the rebels. Now there's a lot of skepticism about his true motives. It's like I've said many times now, here he is, the number 2 guy, basically all powerful. Why would he want to join some sort of revolt? So a lot of rebels didn't trust him. Neither did a lot of American journalists or commentators. In fact, John Lee Anderson of The New Yorker wrote that it is possible that Younis has genuinely decided to do the right thing by defecting, but concluded at worst he is a rank opportunist with the moral scruples of an octopus. That to me seemed more likely. So there wasn't a lot of support from him on the journalistic side. But the people actually really responded to Younis's defection and really respected it. Well, anyway, around on July 28th, rebel security arrested Younis and 2 of his aides from their operations room near the rebels' eastern front. So he was working with the rebels. And under the NTC, which is known as the National Translation Council, they said they were arresting him because they assumed he still had ties to Gaddafi. Some say that Gaddafi put a price on his head and tried to entice people that he was working with, because of course, I mean, this is an authoritarian regime, so there is a lot of corruption, to kill him. Some people say that he was just a casualty. These are violent times. But sorry, I apologize, I lost myself. His murder on July 28th was under some unclear circumstances. His body and Actually, July 28th, Younis was placed under arrest to face questioning in Benghazi on suspicion that his family had contacts with the Gaddafi regime. And later that day, he was killed under unclear circumstances, and his body of those and 2 other officers were found dumped on the outskirts of Benghazi. It was really a brutal crime, as you can see from this picture. His body was found shot and burned in a ditch. And people can say, well, a lot of people think that this is a crime of passion just because of how they left him. You know, when we don't see things like that over here, of course. When people kill, they kind of just shoot them. But the fact that he was burned after he was murdered seems to suggest, you know, something more, that there were some emotions tied behind it. At his funeral, Younis was hailed as a hero of the revolution by his nephew. And he is survived by his wife, 2 sons. And it's unfortunate that he didn't live to see the fall of Gaddafi. And his death came shortly, right after 32 nations, including the US and UK, formally recognized a new leadership in Libya. Who murdered him? Well, There's several, I guess, people that think it could have been. Like I said, people believe that Gaddafi could have put a price on his head and could have been the rebels that he was actually working with, because there was skepticism of his true motives. Some people, as you can see, he will be killed, said one man in Tripoli in May. He will be found, if not by us, by his tribes. That's what happens to traitors in this part of the world. If you are with us or you're against us, you know, this is the dogma, central dogma in these countries. But on November 28th, the NTC discovered that, well, they actually suspect one of their members named Ali Abd al-Azwi. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Ali Sawi. I don't know, they broke it up and hyphenated it, so I thought I was supposed to pause in between it. But he became the #1 suspect, and the main reason is because when they took Younis into custody, they said it was under the guise of the NTC wanting to question him, and this guy is the head of it. However, he does deny that he didn't give anyone the authority to take him in. The current head of the NTC suspects otherwise. So where's Libya headed next? Okay, so you bring down a regime, that means something has to come in its place. And right now they think the man to take Gaddafi's place is Sheikh Ali al-Salibi, who demands for a moderate Islam in Libya. However, his idea of a moderate Islam is one governed by Sharia law, which is a religious doctrine. And whenever you have a religious doctrine in place, there's no room for freedom, there's no room for debate, because basically religious law is law, and in that sort of state you can't have a secular nation. So it's sad, but it looks like if he does take power, Libya might be doomed to repeat the same situation it's in and have another dictator resurface. In conclusion, for the reasons I gave earlier, I do believe Younis was assassinated, basically because the brutality that they did to him after he was killed, and because he was considered a traitor, and people basically said, you know, he's not with us, he's against us. Saying Gaddafi, being corrupt, probably did order his murder. Younis's defection emboldened the rebels like no other before or since, and he was instrumental in the liberation of Benghazi from the 18th to the 20th of February, when he helped negotiate a ceasefire in the besieged main military base in the center of town. So here this guy was charismatic and instrumental in the revolution, and whenever you have a key power player, a strong player, you know, or opponent, you want to eliminate them. And that's why I believe that Younis, unfortunately, was assassinated. Thank you.
Thank you.